Hey everybody. So recently I interviewed James for James's Getting to Know the Host series, and it went really well. And after we finished the interview, we kept talking for a little while, not like with the interview officially being over, but we just kind of strayed into non-gaming related topics. And we ended up talking about introversion for a while, and James and I have wanted to do a slightly deeper topics series for a while, and we just haven't had the time to do it yet. But we thought this worked really well as the first episode of it, so this is cut from James's interview, so you're going to hear, you'll hear some references to that, but we thought you guys might enjoy it. If you'd like to see more talks like these, let us know, but for now, enjoy. I feel like your interview should be like 30% longer to reflect the additional years of wisdom.
Just 30%, huh?
I mean, that seems about right. I'm 25, you're 36, 35.
I will tell you a few more of my gaming,
all right, avoid the question. Sure, that's fine.
Rose-colored memories.
All right.
I'm just going to roll with this. I'm old, okay? Jeez. Man, I remember... this was late. This was middle school, but a friend of mine had the Power Glove, and he lived in one of the big houses in the neighborhood. So he had all the cool Nintendo, gadgets and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if we were good friends, but I remember going over to his house specifically to play, the Power Glove, just because it was something different. But it's weird. I feel like. I don't know how it is for a kid buying a game now compared to back then. For me, going to buy, a cartridge game, at Toys R Us or whatever, it's funny because you didn't go and pick up the physical media. You had the little thing where you had to take the ticket and then they would get it for you.
Yeah. I
don't know. There's something about looking at the back of those little things that was so cool. And because they're all lined up in a grid, back then.
That is a big nostalgia thing you miss is physically going to places. I would go to a place to buy a game and I would just want to look and see, okay, what looks good. It wasn't like today where I know everything about the game before I want to get it. And I used to just go to the store. That's how I played Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, which is one of the best games I've ever played. It'll always be top 10. And I went to Walmart and was like, all right, I've saved my, my allowance or my chore around the house money for 2 or 3 months. I want to get a game. And I looked, I only had a GameCube to choose from, so not a lot of choices. I looked, and I was like, that Metroid Prime game looks pretty cool. Know nothing about it and bought it. That was a cool experience.
You jumped right to 2?
Yeah, I went back and played 1 later.
Okay.
But that was available at Walmart. But the feeling of just walking up and down the aisle and looking what catches my eye? That's what I used to do with PC games. My mom would go shopping somewhere. I'd wander up and down the PC gaming aisle because it used to be much bigger at places like Sam's Club or Costco or Walmart or whatever. And I would just wander up and down and see what looked cool, and just make a purchase from there. But these days, you know what you want to get, and if you're a PC gamer, you don't even have to go anywhere.
It is different. I think for, this makes sounds old kids today, but kids today do have the ability to go online and watch videos. They can watch video, reviews, which is how I prefer to, learn about games now is to actually, what I'll do is I'll read, usually read an article. I don't want to read the article. I'll just jump right to the number.
Yep.
See the pluses and minuses.
And then if
it looks decent, then I'll go and actually watch a video.
Yep.
But back then you didn't have that. You either had the case to look at, or you had, the magazines that you would get. If you got Nintendo Power or whatever, generic one that covered all the systems. That's literally your only exposure to those games. And so, you really had to be sold on that cover. Luckily some of the games that I picked were, had good covers.
Yeah.
That had good covers actually were decent games. But for me, that actually this is the more fun experience that really ages me is that, a lot of the best experiences that I had as a kid was actually playing at like 7-Eleven, like because they had arcade games back then.
Whoa!
Yeah, they had I mean that's where you'd find people playing Street Fighter, which is really weird. But playing like games like Golden Axe and stuff like that. And then when Sega Genesis came out and had like that arcade experience, it's like, whoa, I can bring that home with me and play some of those Sega arcade games at home, which I think is what Nintendo didn't have at the time, was that arcade connection, which is probably why I ended up getting the Sega Genesis.
They never really had a huge arcade presence, did they?
Not really. I mean, it's weird. They had like the Play 10 thing, which was just like pick from a list. I guess kind of like the Neo Geo thing, which is another thing. I grew up with kind of. I didn't grow up in like the pinnacle of arcade, which was like when they were doing like pinball and stuff like that. But I mean, I did spend a lot of time playing arcade games and going to arcades and stuff like that, because that was a thing. I mean, we had Flipper McCoy's. That was the place to go play games. Or we had Putt-Putt Golf, which had the big arcade game thing. I mean, they still have that now, but it's like racing games, and it's like try to win prizes games. It's not like you go in and like you're playing a legitimate game. You like beat 'em up or something like that, or 2D fighter or 3D fighter or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I think that would be. I wish I could implant some of those experiences into people that didn't really get to experience that as kids. I mean, there was something. I mean, we lived right next to like a department store. I don't even remember what it was called, but it had like a whole little arcade section in the back. Like some of the stores have like a couple up in the front, but this literally had like an entire like room filled with arcade games. It had like really old games like Crossbow and stuff like that, and stuff that was like just really old and kind of crappy. But it was cool like to actually want to go to a store. I mean, kids now, they go to a store, they have to deal with their parents, or they usually have like a 3DS with them or something, or their parents' phone or whatever. But that was kind of the cool thing. It's like, oh, I want to go back to the arcade section. I want to go back to the arcade. So I feel like we should have like an entire like nostalgia cast at some point and just talk about our life nostalgias.
We got to record that one. Kicked back in recliners though. Got to be reclined. Just being wistful.
I wish everybody could experience the arcade experience. Like,
yeah, honestly, that's something I never did. I never had. I mean, I like the skating rink had like 2 arcade games, so I played a little bit there, but like that's it. Literally, that's it. I never went to a real arcade.
Yeah, I mean, there was that. It was amazing. Like going to Putt-Putt was like, let's play Putt-Putt to get to the arcade. It's like, all right, your parents take you, and it's like, all right, this is fun. I suck at Putt-Putt, but I'll play. I'll play your game, parents. Now take me to the arcade. So,
sounds like your parents were pretty accepting of you gaming, though.
Yeah, I mean, again, since they had the first system, and I think my dad enjoyed it, and my mom played a couple little games on the Atari, but I think that just kind of dropped out. My dad still played a little bit of Sega, Master System, and Genesis, but after that, I don't think he played that much. Mm-hmm. So then it kind of became just my thing.
Yeah.
But another like random thing.
Yeah.
I feel like this is going really long.
It's a little long, but it's good though, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Of course, a lot of kids believe in Santa growing up. Hopefully, kids aren't listening to this podcast and getting their.
Hopefully, kids aren't listening to this
spoiled
podcast just on principle.
Ever.
But yeah, spoiler alert for Santa.
Like my parents, my mom, I guess this is mostly my mom. She would always I would have these gifts, like just the gifts, the toys and stuff like that. And every year I'd ask for a game system, and I'd pretty much get it. But it was always like hidden. Like it's like, well, how was your Christmas? And like, oh, it was great. I got a few things fun. Wait, there's one more back here, and then pull out the game system with a few games with it. And it was like, yeah, we do this every year. I mean, I know it's coming, so it's not fun anymore. But
I mean, getting the console's fun.
Well, getting the console's fun, but the whole all right, just don't make me fake excitement when I know I'm waiting for something else. Mm-hmm. But yeah. So.
All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I'm good.
Okay. Y'all talked out for tonight?
That I've used up all my words. Being an introvert, I've used up my words probably for a week.
I can appreciate that. Yeah, like it's as long as we're going long, let's just go long. That's one thing that like I don't really talk about on the podcast, but it's it's bears mentioning. If anyone makes it like an hour and 10 minutes into this, then they're sticking with us and they won't be bothered by this. But yeah, like I'm introverted too. Do you feel like people don't understand what being an introvert really means? Like
Yeah,
it doesn't mean I can't be around people or something. Like I can turn it on when it needs to be on, but like it just physically drains me.
Yeah.
And that's the podcast. Like I understand that I'm probably the person best suited to host it, just from the combination of the gift of gab.
We're all
Whatever you call
introverts.
it.
Why are we doing a podcast?
Exactly. Like, but I think like for whatever reason, I'm able to handle it the best. But I think any of you could do a good job. But what I'm trying to say is our podcast as it is now, our current setup, I think I'm the best suited to be the primary host for. But like, man, it sucks it out of you every week. Like when I'm done with the podcast after doing prep and getting everything ready and then hosting it, like, oh man, you just want to like go lay down somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think with age, like if you're an introvert and you're put in situations to be more introverted, I think you can become more like recluse. Mm-hmm. Luckily, I'm not a recluse, but there are times where like, even when we're like planning a big weekend, I'm like, okay, I'm definitely going, but I kind of don't want to go do it just yet. And if I could just push it off another weekend, I would.
Yeah, that's always me too. Anything fun I want to go do, like we make plans. Like even going to New York last year, the week of, you're probably like this. The week of, I'm like, I don't think I should. Like, I'll stay home. Then, like when I actually go, it's fun. It's not perfect,
it's amazing.
but it's fun. But then by the end, I'm like, all right, it's home time now. Like whether it's a couple weeks or a day or two, like when it's time to go home, I'm ready to go home.
Yeah, I mean, you're sad to leave. You're sad to not be around whoever people you get to see. But then you're like, I really need some me time.
Which is one thing I like about our group. Like when we went to the beach this year, I mean, there were times where like you had no idea where everyone was because everyone just scattered to the corners of our, let's face it, way too big house. And, and we were just all hanging out, kind of doing our own thing. And I think that's good because like our whole group gets it. There's no one in the group who feels like everyone has to be together, spending time together the entire time or doesn't count or something. Like everyone's cool to just let everyone do their own thing. For the most part. I think that's nice because I think, yeah, like you said, we are definitely all introverts. Why do we even have a podcast? For that
that's fine. Again, it goes back to the being on stage thing. Like when you get behind something that you believe in, even if it's not necessarily yourself. I mean, that sounds really like dark. I'm like, I don't believe in myself.
But no, like you can serve a purpose of something else, something greater than yourself even.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it and enjoy it, and it doesn't seem like it's something that takes anything out of you. Like you seem like, oh, the people. I'm sure people say to you that you're not introverted. I mean, you seem to like really like outgoing and stuff on the podcast. And I mean, not to necessarily have those conversations, but
not
for you
from the podcast, but for other things I've been involved in, people go, "There's no way you're an introvert. There's no way, because I was involved in so many things, and like even was in charge of so many things growing up, or like in the past 10 years or so." And it's like, no, I'm an introvert. Like I can do it all. Some of it I can do pretty well, but the difference is if I have a choice, I want to do it, and then I want to go home and just let out all the steam. Like being around people is draining. It doesn't energize me. I know people who can't stand to be by themselves. Like they aren't getting charged up unless they are around people. So it's just different strokes, different folks. But
right,
I like. Go ahead.
I think age does play a factor because that was me in high school. Like I loved being around people. I like having a good core group of friends and spending time with them. And doing stuff that, wasn't necessarily like I think people look at introverts and say, oh, they like to sit in their cave and, they don't have anything to say and they're antisocial. But, that was the exact opposite of me, in, high school and, college and stuff is just, wanting to be around people and wanting to have those close friendships. But to me, it was the level of depth that really that really made it worth spending that time doing. Like, I mean, of course, it could be frivolous, like stupid, funny, but at the end of the day, it wasn't just like, it didn't feel fake. And I think that to me, it allowed me to feel, social. But I think as you get older and, as, whatever situation comes your way, like for me in college, I could see a shift. I started to, understand my, more melancholy, temperament better in college, and also spending so much time on the road. Mm-hmm. And, when you cram yourself in a 15-passenger van with a bunch of people, and you're sleeping on the floor and, talking the whole time, and then you're just going to spend more time with people. You do that so much. Is like when you get back to the dorm, it's just like, I don't even want to hang out with my roommates. I mean, it's just like, I just want to, be a little cocoon. And I think I could start to see the shift of, maybe, I do like a little bit of that wall that allows me to, be introspective and stuff. And, as you get older, when, you have that option of, I can be social all the time and, hang out with my friends because we're there. But, as an adult, I have a job and I've got responsibilities when I get home. It's easier to just, stay home,
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you become a homebody. It just means you become more selective.
Exactly.
And,
like you try to
how you spend that social energy.
And also you have too many responsibilities now for being realistic.
Right.
Like you can't, yeah, sure. Maybe in high school and college, just going and hanging out with people was like your goal, but like you can't just do that now. Like
Right.
Life just doesn't work that way. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, your interests in hanging out with people have changed over the years, so the way you do it has changed too.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't have kids, I would probably be doing more just hanging out with friends. But I wouldn't go to like I wouldn't be interested in going just going to parties, or just going to this bar or club or whatever. That people that do enjoy that. Just, I don't know you, but I like having your energy near me. They get something out of that. That will never interest me. But we took me, you, Dave, and Joel took a road trip. For Norman to the actual filming was a complete waste of time.
It turned out
because
to be,
we had a taping, like a reenactment, which if you know anything about film or video, it's just like going and shooting B-roll, which some people like, but if you don't, you're not really into just doing B-roll, that can be like this, probably just the saddest experience for you.
And we didn't really know what we were walking into necessarily. Like,
yeah, but for me, if I can control a situation, if I can plan it out in my head and make it how I want to see it, that's way more fun than going and just seeing what I get.
Yeah.
That's frustrating as, I mean, that's what a lot of videographers that have to make a living end up doing. It's just, I mean, even there's probably even a component of that to, photography. You kind of already know what every wedding's going to be like or whatever.
No, James, they're all special, unique experiences. Okay.
So, but you know that you're just going to get what you get, whereas when you can do like your creative shoots, I mean, that kind of gives you a little bit of a chance to do something a little bit more artistic and, that's more, but that kind of road trip, that's the kind of stuff I would do. Something that I think would be making memories, but would be kind of close. So we, for me, I guess being the analytical type, being older, I'm more interested in having those deep conversations. I have no boundaries when it comes to, politics or religion or anything like that. That a lot of people are, what's the word? Apprehensive
mm-hmm.
to have. But I'm not. I don't force my opinion on people. I'm not one of the people that also just speaks what I feel. But I like to have those conversations. I like to see how people work. So anytime you get something a little more intimate like that, I think that makes a lot more deeper connections and stuff. So that's the kind of stuff I would be doing if I didn't have kids all the time. But that's not a reality.
Well,
so.
you and Joel are very similar. You both hate small talk. Like you
I
would rather
loathe small talk.
Yeah, you'd rather just hop straight to the straight to the meat of it, which is good, but it's hard when you don't know somebody well enough to like actually have a decent conversation. Because you're taking a risk that okay, maybe they'll get what's going on and they'll roll with it, or maybe they'll just want to talk about superficial crap and you'll feel let down.
It's not it to me. It's not even the meat. Is there any purpose for us to be talking right now? And that sounds like kind of like douchebaggy, but even if I have a conversation with somebody that if I can learn something from them, not like learn like I'm sitting at your feet learning, but they explain something I know nothing about, but I walk away. Oh, that's cool. I know a little bit about bow hunting or something like that.
Yeah.
That's obviously not my personal interest, and it's not something we can meet at on a deeper level. But it's at least something that I feel like we're talking about something. We're not just talking because, oh, I'm in a room, you're in a room. We have to talk. We have to say something to make the other person respond. I mean, that's the kind of small talk that irritates me. It's the elevator ride. It's the
right.
It's really hot outside this week, huh?
Well, can I put up a counter to that?
Sure.
I agree with you on the superficial stuff, but what I've read years and years ago, someone said that if you want to travel, if you really want to experience the places you go to, like you can go look at the waterfall and you can hike on the mountain trail and everything. And I've done a fair bit of that. And it's cool, but after a while, it's a path in the woods and it's another waterfall. Like you want to really experience a new place, you meet the people. Because as you meet a different culture, different food, different customs, different personalities, and that's how you really travel. And I always try to make it a point if I'm anywhere that I don't normally go to, if I'm traveling for anything, I try to at least make small talk with a few people, and occasionally I get to have a cool conversation. But most of the time, it never goes beyond small talk. But I like having that little interaction of just getting to at least have a couple sentences with someone I never would have seen ever in my life and probably will never see again, and who's has a totally different experience in their life than me. So sometimes it is superficial, but sometimes it is really good, but I don't know unless I try it. So I don't like the superficial stuff either, but I'm willing to blow a couple superficial sentences on the chance that something cool might come out of it, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I don't see anything that you said as being superficial, though. Like asking those questions and stuff. Mm-hmm. To me, it's if I talk to you with the intention of us having an exchange, like actually exchange something, even if it's just a random idea, that to me is more fulfilling than just I feel obligated to talk, so I'm going to just say something.
Okay, so you're more like you don't like when you walk into a place and people are like, oh hey, how's it going? How you doing? And you're just like, yep, fine. You don't like all that where there's no conversation that's about to happen.
It's yeah. Well, I mean, people. I mean, even people are like, so what do you do for a living? I mean, it feels very disingenuous. Mm-hmm. I mean, but for me, I'll talk to people, just at random. Like, I think just yesterday I was at Target, picking up a prescription, and I was talking to the pharmacy tech about, their transition to being bought up by CVS and, how she felt about it. And I was also talking about their new chip scanners and stuff, and if they got annoying hearing the buzzing all day and stuff I mean, just it's small talk, and it's still kind of superficial, but it wasn't like, I don't know. At least it felt like, to me, it's I'm talking with the purpose of you talking to me back and us exchanging. I'm actually interested in what you're going to say.
Yeah, type thing. That makes sense. That sounds like we're on the same page, then. Because even if you're asking about oh hey, what do you feel about this thing that's happening or whatever, you're getting context. You're getting someone else's context on something that you already care about. So even if you guys never have a super in-depth conversation about it, you at least got another little perspective on something that you find interesting.
That's what I do. That's what really interests me and people that I meet. And, if I don't know what to talk to you about, I might just ask you a question. Usually in those awkward situations for me, the elevator conversations that really are pointless, to me, it turns to humor to at least at least make me laugh or something.
That's what I have to do too.
But hopefully the point is to at least make them smile and at least be a pleasant experience, not just, yep, it's great outside.
That's
hot.
My whole shtick as a wedding photographer. Me and my secondary photographer Mason. Well, you've met Mason.
Mm-hmm.
Like our whole thing that we pride ourselves on is not necessarily like we're going to be the best photographers you've ever met, but we'll make this whole experience fun. Like
right.
we'll keep talking the whole time. We'll keep the mood light. We'll make jokes. And, you know, we're not afraid to say stupid stuff all day long just to make sure everyone has a decent enough time. So like I have very superficial conversations all day long at weddings. Just because I'm not expecting to get to really know most of these people most of the time. But I have had to cultivate that way of just being able to keep talking nonstop no matter what you're saying and just keeping everyone's spirits up and stuff. It's definitely pretty draining. But I don't know, I mean, I think it all has its place. But I'm curious, you know, because you can be all old man and grumpy about it. And I feel like I'm a little grumpy and old about this. Does it bother you how glued to mobile devices people are these days in public? Like there's so many times where all I want to do is just like, I put my phone away on purpose and keep it away from me so I can just experience where I am. Like I'm a photographer, but I don't take pictures when I go most places. Like I don't take at concerts, at interesting restaurants, you know, I just want to be there. I don't want to take a crappy version of that memory to have. I just want to have the memory.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a balance for me. I think the things that we do that are mundane or routine,
mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with it. Like if I've shopped at Target for 100 times, I don't mind playing on my device while I'm walking around just because I know exactly where I'm going. I know
right. You're just doing maintenance. You're doing life maintenance at the moment.
I don't mind that. But, you know, if I'm on vacation and people are, you know, electronically bound, I think it's more of... Yeah, I don't just necessarily care so much about what other people are doing in public as long as they're not being, you know, jerks.
Yeah, definitely.
But, you know, if you're talking like people I'm hanging out with or stuff, and, you know, that lack of engagement is happening not because of we're interesting people, but, you know, there's distractions. Then it kind of becomes annoying. I mean, everybody needs their ability to, you know, check out Slick Deals or, you know, check email or whatever.
But when you're checking Facebook for like the second time in 20 minutes and just flipping through Instagram again, just because you don't want to come up with something to do, not you, but like people in general. Like,
yeah, that's where I kind of draw that's where it kind of rubs me wrong, I think. I feel like this needs to be just its own standalone conversation.
It probably could, but no, but we're getting to know you, and I figured I took a stab in the dark. This is something you'd probably care about, and I think it is. Something I just started doing just last week was I don't take my phone into my bedroom anymore. I plug it in at my computer when I go to sleep,
mm-hmm.
and I have my wife just wake me up in the morning, so that's my alarm clock. But I've got an alarm clock, an actual one on the way, just to be on the safe side. But it's been amazing. Like when I wake up, there is no flood of useless information right when I get out of bed. You know, because normally probably everyone does this. Like you grab your phone and check Facebook and check whatever. And it's easy to blow like 20, 30 minutes. Like if I don't have, you know, being that I work from home, I don't necessarily have to be up immediately. And it's easily to blow a lot of time doing nothing on my phone. But now, like I wake up, I won't even see if I have phone calls or emails until I've gotten up, gone to the gym, come back, taken a shower, gotten a snack and sat down at my computer. And then I'm like, okay, what's up? And it's been so cool. I've only been doing it for about a week, but I absolutely love it.
I can imagine that's freeing. I'm not there yet. I definitely got the other end of that spectrum. I mean, I have that dependency.
I did too. Like, I'm not going to pretend to be above it all. Like, I spent way too much time on my phone, like just waking up in the morning. But I justified it by like, well, I don't play on my phone when I'm out in public or whatever. Like, I like to be around, you know, see what's going on and stuff. But I kind of got to the point where I was like, yeah, but like I never have enough time to do the stuff I want to do. So I should stop blowing that totally useless time because it's useless information I'll get throughout the day anyway. Like I'm working on my computer. So if something happens on Facebook or Skype or Google Hangouts or GroupMe or the other 35 ways people can get in touch with you, I'm not going to miss it. The only thing I'll miss is if someone has like an emergency early in the morning. If they do, they can call my wife. Like they can get in touch with me if there's an emergency. So I don't feel like I'm actually missing out on anything.
Well, it's different for me only because, number one, I do participate in a few like not debate groups, but discussion groups on like Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook discussion groups, no debating, sure.
Yeah, no debating. 8,000 people and nobody debates. Sure. No, that's most of what I spend my time doing on there. But it's to me that's something that's interesting, and it's social without being social. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't. I feel like I'm not. Every once in a while I do run out of that energy, but I don't know. I do feel the need to check. Like I'll go to sleep, and then in the morning I know that I'm going to wake up to like 7 different like.
Notifications of stuff.
Yeah, that this person replied in this thread. This person mentioned you. That kind of stuff, and it's just like, so I am interested in seeing where the conversation's going to go. Mm-hmm. So that to me that is a little bit exciting when you make a point to see what they're going to say and counter to that point or whatever. So I do have that, but I think a lot of when I'm not like on hanging out on slick deals or whatever. I do like learning. Learning is just something that just, not like the traditional sit in a classroom and go home and do homework, but just like
no, I know what you mean. I'm the same way.
Finding out about new stuff, and that's just something that I'm constantly. I have to take in new information over and over and over again. So I think I don't know how much of the addiction on that is the electronic device of it, or is just like. There's so much information at my fingertips, and it's so much easier to digest than sitting down, like going through, a 300-page book. That it's just like
I agree with you there. I think the loftiness of how I perceived how I was spending my time was not nearly as great as the reality of it.
Right.
Where I was just blowing my time. I feel like I'm more productive if I get some stuff done in my day before I sit down and mess with it. But
yeah,
I'm the same way.
Definitely.
Do you use Pocket at all?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Do you know what it is?
Nope.
Okay. It's a little toolbar you install in both your browsers. Well, it's an account you sign up for. But I've got a little button, a Pocket button in Chrome and Firefox, and you can probably get it for other ones too. If I see a cool article, I open it up, I click that button, and I close it. And it will download and sync it to any mobile device or any computer that I'm logged into with my account. So anytime I'm like somewhere I need to kill a little time, I can just open up my phone and I have 30 interesting articles or journal entries or what, they could range from total fluff to really deep, long educational experiences. And I always have something interesting to read.
Yeah.
No matter where I am.
So it's like Pinterest for men. Kind of.
It's a little bit, it's not public facing. But the nice thing about it for me is that I'm like you. I like learning. I love knowing about stuff. Like if I see anything interesting, I don't want to just, oh, that's cool. I want to learn about it. And the problem with that is that can waste a lot of time. Like that can really pull you out of your day. So I open up and go, oh, wow, that looks cool. I click one button and close it before I have a chance to read through it and, get sucked away from what I'm doing. And then it's like I get little surprises later because I'll forget what I added to it, but I'll scroll through my list and I'm like, oh, this looks cool. Oh, this looks cool. And, occasionally I'll delete stuff and like, okay, that wasn't what I thought it was. But, I always have interesting educational and entertaining experiences just waiting at my fingertips, and I'm not wasting a bunch of time while I should be working or doing something more productive.
Well, it's funny that, a lot of articles give away pretty much all the content just by reading the headline.
Yeah.
Which I think is what the popularity of the clickbait stuff is that you don't know what you're going to find out.
Mm-hmm.
But when you read, so if you read this new study found that da-da-da-da-da, and then so you open up, you start, reading and skimming, you're like, okay, here's the data that prove that it's showing da-da-da-da. And you're like, okay, I'm done, Sometimes you'll find something so interesting that you have to just keep reading,
Right.
and then read something else about it, read something else. But then most of the time, I find that those really nice descriptive titles are just like enough to like when I click on it and read it, like, okay, I could have just stuck with the title and known at least that this happened.
Yeah.
And be good with it. I try not to be that way though. I try to at least give it decent attention, especially if someone recommends it.
I know what you're saying, though. I mean, like, with our 24-hour news cycle, most of the little news headlines you see are nothing more than a paragraph that pretty much just like expounds on the headline, like you said. So I think that's Twitter is awesome for following news organizations. It's probably the most pure reporting of the news there is. There's no room to fluff it. Like, you just have to say, literally, there was an accident on this highway. A couple people died. Major bill has just passed in the Senate. Like, you can't fluff it up at all. You just have to say the thing that happened. So I do get a lot of news from Twitter now because I feel like I can get caught up just as fast. And if it's interesting, then I'll have article links. So if I really want more information, I can do that. But
I mean, another way you can do it is just like set up RSS feeds.
Yeah, I do have a lot of those.
Just look at the titles and be like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah, that's what I do now. Is like if I see one I like, I just open up the article, save it to Pocket, and then close it. Like I run it all through Pocket. But yeah, I do still run some RSS feeds for some of my older subscriptions and stuff. But it's a lot to keep track of. Like it's a lot of different, between Pocket, Flipboard, RSS. It's a lot of information getting thrown at you, and you wonder from time to time, like, how much of this is really relevant, or am I just curious enough that I want to look at it, but like, will I even remember that I read this later?
Right. I feel like it's weird to say. I mean, I do check news sites, but the majority of the news I get, I think, is from Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Only because, the stuff that I'm actually interested in, I've liked their pages. And so when something actually interesting does come up, it'll show up in my feed. And that's usually enough for me to get the kind of information that I'm looking for. Not that, and it makes it sound like I'm just like, Kanye West and, did this or that. I mean, not that kind of information. That doesn't interest me, but.
Right. Anything particularly newsworthy,
but everything else that I wouldn't think to look for ends up in the trending. And so, like, if something does happen that's outside of my scope of things that I would like look up, I still get that information just from that little feed, which is weird.
You do, but you also get gems like today. Kate Hudson dances with her 3-year-old son in an Instagram video. I'm like,
well, I know
really,
how to not give a crap about those.
No, I know, but like, I see a little feed on the side, and I'm like, really? Like, and that's right. And that's right next to things like Major Bill just passed the Senate. Like, I don't know who curates that over at Facebook. I guess it literally is just what's being talked about the most. But does that piss you off, the stuff that gets talked about the most?
Yeah, well, some of the stuff is just absolutely retarded. I mean, whatever. People different, like you said, different strokes.
Yeah, you can say different strokes, but also, do you feel like people have a responsibility as a citizen of whatever country they happen to live in to be a little bit educated on where they came from, what they're doing here, what their group of people is up to, how they interact with the world, and how they fit in? Like, don't you think people have a little bit of a responsibility to be at least cognizant of that?
Well, I mean, I would like them to be. I mean, my perfect ideal world, yeah, they would be. But I think the average person, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, is the scope of selfishness. I mean, I care about something when it affects my belief system or when it affects, my little world. But for the most part, I care about me and my job staying healthy, or my family, or whatever.
Yeah, like everybody.
I think that's the average. No, I'm not saying for me, but just saying in general, that's the. I think that's what the average person deals with, and so getting educated on X, Y, and Z, it's just like, I'm still going to go to work and I'm still going to enjoy my family. I'm still going to do this. So why do I need to know that? I mean, I can adopt someone else's principles and just say that, those are mine. I don't agree with that. That's not me. But I feel like that's what the average person probably deals with. And again, that's not that's selfish. When I say selfish, I don't mean a derogatory word. It's just the amount of energy, again, you can spend here, and here. It's just, that doesn't really fit into, my lifestyle. Ideally, everybody would be educated about everything. I mean, you'd be educated about, every politician that you're considering, and the history of, how bills became this, and how this part of the economy affects this part of the economy, and people would have that kind of foundation. But we're so far from that the other end of the pendulum is people that are super into it, and then they become like pseudo experts at X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
They become super into it, but they're not like actually living or breathing it, doing it.
Right.
But then they kind of tell the rest of the people that they're doing it wrong. So I don't want to be that person.
You don't want to
either.
be a consultant.
Right. But yeah, my ideal world, I mean, everybody would they would know why they're voting for what. They would know why they're believing in X, Y, and Z in their religion. They would know, why certain chemicals are good, why certain things aren't the boogeyman.
But do you also feel like, as you get older, you've been through how many presidents? Like 6 presidents, but at this point, and actually, we've had a lot of
not that many.
Yeah, we've had a lot of 8-year
Been a
presidents.
few repeats.
That's true. So at least 5 presidents, though. Been through at least 5. I mean, I've been through 5. So, do you feel like maybe some of the people who don't get all worked up over stuff that's happening, they've just realized over the years, like, this doesn't really affect me. Like, yeah, it's good to know that something's happening in the government, but when everyone cries that the sky is falling, how often does it really affect you in whatever little town you live in, Like, how often do you really see the effects of that? And it does happen. I'm not pretending like it doesn't, but it happens a lot less than the news and the media and whatever is current would have you believe.
I think it's a hybrid of that, and it's easier to be interested in principle more so than actual practical application.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in something like politics, people believe in the ideal of this, this, and this, and they're only going to stick to that. They don't. I mean, common sense would say that you can't stick to an ideal in every situation. You have to make every situation its own unique situation, so that you can, I don't know, make good long-term choices for that, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think people get bad. They're fine just relegating all their decision making to the principle of this, whether it be the Republican Party, Democratic Party, the Tea Party, to even something as far as like Socialist Party, whatever. I think people are just fine hiding behind, well, these are my ideals. I'm fine with my ideals. I don't have to actually think, does this make sense in this situation? If we looked at everything from a common sense standpoint, my personal opinion is that we would not have the political parties we would have. We would have just something completely different that, in my ideal world would work,
Well, and I think most people are probably a lot more moderate than the political party they ascribe to, but they like feeling, that they belong to a group that feels mostly the same way they do about important issues. So even if I think most people go, okay, yeah, I mean, I think I like, I like, say, the Republican Party. I like their stance on the economy and blah, blah, blah. But then if you press them, like, well, I mean, not like the unreasonable stuff, obviously, but the general guiding principles I like. And I feel like most people have more in common with each other than they think. They have the most common sense things are in line. And then everyone has a couple weird fringe beliefs that, are probably a little bit ridiculous. But I feel like people have the ability to get along probably a lot better than they realize, because they're too busy playing on their phones.
Well, yeah, but I think in those situations, though, when you are behind an ideal or ideology, you then demonize the other ideology, whether or not you actually agree with it. So even though you meet on common grounds on many issues, you choose to believe you don't. And so, I think if you could just break down people to what they actually feel versus how they project what they feel, I think you would find a little bit difference there too. Just my thought.
No, I agree with you.
This has nothing to do with my what I bring to the podcast. So but this train's just gonna keep rolling.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? Or you want to shut it down, or?
Like I said, we can turn this into a casual conversation. Just keep rolling with it.
Well,
this is more fun.
It is fun, but I'm going to keep this as your podcast. But this is a teaser for people. James
this
and
is a 2-hour conversation of James.
Yes, but James and I have been talking for a while. We want to do like more serious, introspectful conversations. Not because like the other hosts wouldn't want to, but like we just came up with the idea. We thought it'd be a fun thing to do together as casual conversations. So if you'd like this, I don't mean this to sound like the typical douchey. Leave us a like and let us know. But seriously, like if you enjoyed this, let us know, because this is something we've wanted to do, and we have lots of ideas of stuff to do. We just have to prioritize it by what people enjoy, what resonates with people, and what we have the time and the ability to do. And I feel like, James, you and I could sit down and bust through some opinions on stuff.
100 of these.
Yeah. Like, I think we have the capability. The scheduling is the only hard part. The capability to do it won't be an issue.
Yeah.
But
I think what makes us, again, you're saying, not sound like we're the only ones that can do this, but, I think what makes us able to have conversations like this is that because we spend time looking at why things work the way they do, trying to be as rational as possible about, whatever topic we're thinking about, it puts a similar language when you sit down and start talking about something. Not that you and I would necessarily agree on everything, but if we are going to talk about it, we're at least going to understand and take the time to, empathize. I mean, I talk to Joel about deep stuff all the time, but, there is a completely different approach that, he has to something than I do.
And for whatever reason, you think you and I's approach is similar enough that it works?
Yeah, I mean, since we sit in that middle ground of everything, I think that's kind of the skeptic.
Yeah, that's
being a life skeptic does have a different approach, I think.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So basically, what we're saying is we're the most reasonable out of the group. That's what you're saying, like.
I'm not gonna say that. Hit pause and I'll say it. No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I think we will go ahead and shut it down. Not just because it's 2 a.m. That certainly factors into it. But I think it was a good conversation. No need to spoil it now. We'll have more of these.
I want to save some of this energy for some.
Exactly. Like, we don't want to use up too many words. We might need some words from you later in the week at some point.
I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do at work tomorrow. I might just look at people and hopefully they get my look. Because I'm not feeling social.
You have an office though. Can't you just do you have like a crunch time sign you can hang up or something?
I'm conducting interviews tomorrow.
Oh, really?
On camera interviews. So,
okay, not interviewing like for a position, but interviewing people for a video thing. Ugh. Do you like doing that?
I actually really like doing that.
Really? Okay. I've enjoyed doing it, but I've always had to be like, I'm guessing you probably have to do all the technical side of it too.
Yeah, I do have to do all the technical side. I mean, that part actually kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the technical side, but I would rather just have everything done. I mean, the 45 minutes setting up lights and stuff like that can kind of suck.
It's hard to just cut loose and focus on getting a good interview and asking the right questions and stuff when you're worried about the technical side of everything the entire time. When you're worried about everything working.
Oh, don't worry. I stop worrying about that once the camera starts rolling. Like, I glance at it once on. That looks like it's still working.
We'll just compress the crap out of this later. No worries. All right, man. Well, thanks for letting me interview you for this Getting to Know James.
I feel like they know me more than everybody else now because I spoke for 2 hours.
Well, that's just catching up because everyone else talks more on the podcast. You listen more and then only contribute when you feel like you have something worthwhile to say, whereas the rest of us, like me and Joel, just talk the entire time regardless of whether there's like conscious thoughts in our brains. So
you got to catch me in the after party. That's when I'm like going wild.
Sure.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hang out on Teamspeak after the podcast.
He's lying to you guys.
I'm all over it. No, do really come out and hang out on Teamspeak.
You should. Yeah, you guys should. I mean, James is there. I wouldn't say he's like, "What's up, you bitches? Let's party." Like, not really, but he's there. He's there. I mean, you'll never see
My
Joel in there.
name pops up in the thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's that.
Yeah, yeah.